You're listening to episode 316 of the podcast. Today, we're continuing our discussion into human design and how you can use it to amplify your awesome with our second of three guests, Britia Kubeczka. If you have questions about human design or want to connect with Britia directly, come on over to today's show notes at yongpratt.com/316. Have you ever felt like there was something missing in your business? Something holding you back from the success you're seeking? If so, you are not alone. For nearly 20 years, that's exactly how I felt as a business owner. It wasn't until I discovered human design that it all became clear. And it turns out that I was the missing piece in my own business. Join me on this journey of discovering the real me and hear stories from other business owners building businesses around all of their awesomeness. I'm Yong Pratt, and it's time, my friend, to amplify your awesome. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait for you to dive into today's podcast. I'm interviewing someone who's been on the show before. However, she's pivoted a lot in her business, and we're going to dive really deep into human design. Well, as deep as we can in less than an hour's time, right? There's a lot of layers, a lot of things to really dive into, but we have such a good conversation about human design, what it is, how to use it to build better relationships, how to connect with people better, and most importantly, how not every type of human design is meant to show up in the way that is portrayed online. And this is really huge. This is the part for me that when I learned about my human design, and I'm a projector, so you can learn more about that through this episode. When I learned I was a projector and I was not meant to do all the things and be doing everything and hustling and really adhering to what is expected when you're having a business online, doing all the things, showing up, having all the energy, waking up early, going to bed late. When I discovered that was not how I was designed, and it was okay to not be designed like that, and I could still show up and be my authentic self, it was literally like the lights went on all of a sudden. Business became much more enjoyable, and life became much more enjoyable, and being able to just be me and relax and not have to hustle every day has literally changed everything in my business. If I were just to compare my business in the few months that I've known about human design, from February until now, I'm recording this episode in October, not very many months have passed. However, I've grown an immense amount in this time, and this episode with our guest, Britia Kubeczka, is really going to blow you away because we dive into so many facets of human design and really set the stage for how important understanding about ourselves, knowing more about ourselves, allows us to show up differently and as the best version of ourselves in life and in business. I cannot wait for you to dive in. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Amplify Your Awesome podcast. I am so excited you're tuning in today because we're talking about a topic that has come into my life pretty recently, but has really dramatically shifted how I run my business, how I show up every day. And today's guest is someone who's been on a parallel journey. She's been on the podcast before, and we talked about something very different. So today, I'm excited to introduce you to Britia Kubeczka. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Britia. Now, we've known each other for a couple of years now, at least. And in that time, I've seen her do some really pretty big pivots. This most recent pivot, and she'll explain why she's doing it and how she's going to be showing up from now on. It really just speaks volumes about the ways in which we as online entrepreneurs, especially women, are expected to show up online and why, if we're doing that, sometimes it doesn't resonate. So let me tell you a little bit about Britia. So Britia is a wife, a mom, a free-spirited cowgirl, a wild-hearted life coach, human design expert, and an ultrasound technologist. She was born and raised in Southern California and moved to Texas in 2005 to pursue her higher education and to nurture her country roots, which is something I can absolutely grab a hold of because I just love that about Britia and this wild spiritedness. So, Britia, I am so glad you're bringing your wild spirit and all things human design and online business to this conversation today.
I'm so glad to be here too. As you said in there, that we've known each other for a long time, and it just feels so right that we reconnected on this path and in this way. And I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Absolutely. It's so funny because it was just probably a couple of months ago. I think I saw one of your posts on Facebook and I thought, oh, what?
Yeah.
Ratia knows about human design as well, because I've talked a little bit about it here on the podcast and my journey to discovering the real me and how human design has really played an integral part in helping me to understand the best ways for me to show up as a person and the best ways for me to show up as a business owner. So I want to go back a little bit and talk about how you discovered human design and how it's really impacted your life till now.
Yeah. So I tell people that I discovered it by accident, and I really did. And it was one of those things that people talk about. It's like it found me. I wasn't looking, and it found me. And that's really, in all honesty, how it happened. Excuse me. I saw a post from somebody, and it just had alignment. And that was what I was seeking. I just felt out of alignment. I knew that the path that I was on just I couldn't see into the future on that path. And I was like, something needs to shift. I need something. I'm looking for something. What is it? What is it? And then human design like I said, it just showed up. I had no clue what it was. But once I started to like learn about it and figure out, my profile and my type, and it was like a ton of bricks just slapped me across the face. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've been waiting for and looking for. And it was like that weight just lifted off my shoulder. And I was like, this is it. I have to share this with everybody. Everybody needs to know this and feel this. Because what I experienced was like nothing that I've experienced in the 5 years that I've been in this self-development world, in the world of coaching, in the world of online business and entrepreneurship. It's just so different. And it gave me something that I could really hold on to. And it was that, I don't even want to say permission, but it was like I felt more seen, heard, and understood than I have in probably my entire life. It was literally everything I've known and know about myself. It was like seeing it written out in this book about me. And it was so cool. So that's where I am now.
No, and I can totally relate to so many of those points because I think in a lot of ways, human design also found me. One of my podcasting students had said, hey, I just interviewed this interesting person on my podcast, and she's an expert in human design. And I had never heard of human design. I think this was in February of this year of 2020. And I kind of jumped in. And like you said, it feels all of a sudden, I always talk about, I relate it to, putting on your comfiest pair of jammies and just feeling so aligned and so right with everything that is all about us, right? So
Yeah.
I no longer felt like I had to try to be like everybody else because I could finally embrace everything that was true about me, about the way I
Yes.
was on the inside, that I was really scared to show up with, especially online, and bear that part of my soul. Because, when I started business more than 2 decades ago, it was all about, I want to build this business. I want to feel corporate. I want to be hidden away. I want to run it like a big business, even though I was a small business. So I really removed myself from the business. So
Mm-hmm.
human design, when it came along, it was like, it was like this smack upside the head, or the bricks falling on
Yeah.
you, because all of a sudden you think, wait, how's that possible that someone else knows this about me? How do I
Yeah.
like, and especially things that I've always known about myself, but just wasn't really quite sure what to do with. That's how
Right.
human design was for me as well. So I love that. So for everyone listening, if they haven't heard my story of human design or know what human design is, can you explain to us what it really is?
Yes. So it's more like a tool, if you will. It's a tool or a system. And it's like there's this spiritual piece of technology, right, that allows you to kind of take a peek or like look into or look at your soul contract kind of in order to confirm the person that you are. Like it's already written in stone, it's already there, it's been there since the day you were born. But it kind of helps explain, if you will, like why you're here on this planet and what lessons you're here to learn and what gifts you're here to share, like what gifts you hold within that you're put here, like that's what you were designed to do. And it kind of combines these ancient teachings from astrology, and it has Kabbalah's tree of life in it, and it mixes a little bit of chakra systems and the I Ching. But my favorite part, as a science girl, if you will, it mixes modern science of biochemistry, genetics, and theoretical quantum physics. It mixes that with this spiritual world. So I've kind of explained it to other people who are more of like spirituality in the sense of God and church and that sort of thing, that it has that too. Because if God created the universe and the world, and he created you and me, then he knows exactly how he designed us. And this puts it in a way that we can like grasp and see it. You know, it's like that blueprint of our life, of that blueprint of our soul and who we were designed to be. It's like he just handed it to us on a piece of paper where he's like, look, I told you, I put this in your heart, and I told you this is why I put it there, so you can see it all written out. And really that's kind of the gist of it. It's just that tool, or that system, if you will, that helps you kind of peel off the layers of who you really are.
And as a fellow science lover, science nerd, I found these things really fascinating because it did take these scientific principles and merge them with kind of the woo side. So, whatever
Hmm.
side of the fence you're on, maybe you're in the middle someplace, there's something that's going to appeal to everyone. And it really is like opening up a page in your diary thinking, oh my gosh, yes, I react like this in this situation.
Yeah.
And if you look back, and they always say hindsight is 2020, right? You can look back and through the lens of human design, it's been fascinating to go back and say, oh, well, I know why that didn't work, or I know why
Hmm.
that was really successful because it all aligned with my design. So, can we talk about the different types of people in the human design world? Because there's a lot of different layers and we can peel
Yeah.
them back a little bit. But let's talk about the overall general different types of ways that we can show up in this lifetime.
Yeah. So as we've kind of talked about a little bit already, there's different layers. So you can kind of start to peel back each layer at a time. And I think the first layer would start with really what your type is. So there are 5 types. There's a manifester, there's a generator, there's a manifesting generator, a projector, and a reflector. So each type is kind of the big picture of kind of how you operate. And when you go deeper into that, it's more about centers and where you get your energy from. So each one is different in kind of what lights their soul on fire, and how they get their energy and that life force energy.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And when I first discovered my human design and found out that I was a projector and Bratia is also a projector. So when we found each other and we were both this type, all of a sudden a lot of things made sense. And earlier at the
Yeah.
beginning of this episode, I had said sometimes, when we look through the lens of human design, a lot of what we see online are people who are showing up and they're going, 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 hustling, hustling, hustling. However, that doesn't fit with every type, and projectors definitely do not fit in that type. So, Richie, I would love for you to share this story because I think it'll illustrate the point of what we're talking about as far as the hustle. Because
Yeah.
when it comes to online business, we think we have to. I think we talked about waking up at 5 in the morning, going to do these things, working the entire day, going to bed late, burning the candle on both ends, and repeating the process. And for
Mhm.
you and I as projectors, when we do that, we get exhausted, we get burnt out. And again, looking back over my life, I can see the trend because I was trying to show up with way more energy or react to the energy around me because there was a lot of energy. My husband is a generator. I am pretty sure my mom is a manifesting generator. I've not run her chart, but just in the ways that I've learned about human design and how the different types show up and the energy they bring, I want to hear the story about you growing up in a household of generators, really, and how that
Yeah.
affected the way you perceived yourself before human design and how you perceive yourself now after knowing your human design.
Yeah. So for the longest time, I mean, I've hired many coaches, and this has come up with every coach that I've hired. I'm like, I just can't get myself up and moving in the morning. Like, is it that I don't care about my business? Is it that like I don't have the drive to make this work? Like I for so long thought that it was something wrong with me. And why can't I do business the way that all these people are doing it and the way that they're saying to do it and just get up early and just hustle? And, as somebody, I still work at a full time job. So, as somebody who quote unquote side hustles and has a full time job, I struggled so much with this idea of just hustle, just hustle it out, just, work it all. You can do all the things all the time, and I tried to. I tried to. And as she said, my mom is a generator, my sister is a generator. I grew up in a house, and still I have a Manny Gen son and a generator daughter. My husband's a manifester, but like there's just so much energy around me all the time. So I kind of use it. I can see now too that I've kind of used it as a coping mechanism just to stay busy, and you kind of forget all the other stuff that's going on. So a lot of people, we have to talk about conditioning influence as well when we talk about human design, because the way that you were raised or the way that you're told to tone something down, or maybe you're just a big out there kind of person and you've been told your whole life not to be so big, not to be so loud. Or maybe you're like us and we're more of the quiet, like we need time to ourselves. We need to regenerate because we don't have that life force constantly within us. So I grew up feeling like I had to always be doing something in order to be successful, or in order to win, or in order to, all of these in order to's, that you had to be a specific thing and you had to constantly be working and going. And when I finally saw this in writing, I was like, hallelujah. Like it was just like the heavens opened up for me, and I'm like, thank you, Lord. Like you just gave me that permission to sleep and to rest, and like
Mhm.
this is why I can't constantly push. I can't constantly go because I'm not built like them. My sister, for instance, I mean, she has an amazing Instagram. She does all the things, side hustles, and has a job. She's redoing her whole house. She's a generator. She had a week off of work last week, and I told her, I'm like, you're going to get so much energy from doing what you do in her house. So she spent an entire week redoing her house. She is so creative, and that's where she gets more energy. That's how generators and Manny Gens work, is that when they do the things that they love, they get more energy and they can keep going and keep going and keep going. And she was like, you're so right. Like I just feel so energized and lit up, and I have all this time to do what I love to do. And that just keeps them going. Whereas projectors, we don't have that energy. Once we run out for the day. Um, and the same can go for Manny Gens and generators. They can also run out of energy, but they just are able to tap into that sacral generator force a little bit more.
So many parallels here as far as growing up and feeling like we always had to go, 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 go. And to rest was being lazy. And if you're not in constant
Mhm.
motion, then there's something wrong. And if you're not struggling and hustling, then that can't be wrong because, of course, business and life can't be easy. It has to be challenging and hard. And so
Mhm.
when human design came along too, and you had that hallelujah moment, I had the same thing like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was all of a sudden in writing saying, okay, you are a projector, your energy shows up differently. You have a
Yeah.
maximum amount of energy per day and you have to be really efficient with it. And so it's so
Mhm.
interesting as I dig into what I love to do and what I love helping entrepreneurs do in their businesses and repurpose their content. This was something I had to do for myself because I needed
Yeah.
to get the most done, but to preserve energy in the process. So being able to tap into systems and making sure I have really good workflows and I really have a designated time when I know I can be busy and when it feels the best to be busy, because sometimes during the day, like mornings, I would not call myself a morning person by any means. I mean, I get up relatively early now and I've started making a new habit of going for a walk pretty much first thing in the morning. And doing
Mhm.
that will give me energy, but then I'll come home and have a cup of coffee and do something creative. So literally it's not till like 10 or 11 that I feel like I'm ready to dive in and do something productive, because by then I've recharged. I've charged my
Mhm.
batteries enough to go do my important work, and I'll do it for a couple hours and then I'm out, because I know when I reach a certain point in the day, I just know. I mean, I could keep plugging away and I used to, but I used to always just be busy, just to be busy. It was not
Yeah.
being
Right.
productive. Now I know, like, okay, I can be productive for 2, maybe 3 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week, not more than that. If it's more than that,
Mhm.
I can feel it. I start to get feeling like I'm sick. I get a sore throat. Like something happens in my body to remind me, like,
Yeah.
you need to slow down. And so human design has been such an amazing tool in so many respects. So if people are out there listening and they're thinking, wait, I want to know more about human design. Can you point them in the direction of a resource, maybe at your website, where you can show them how they can tap into this book or this scroll, or however you want to visualize human design,
Yeah.
this map for you, this blueprint? Where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, so everyone can take it for free. The to find out your body graph is all free. You can go to mybodygraph.com and it'll give you a body graph and tell you your type and your strategy and all those things. It'll have it laid out for you, which might look like a lot the first time you're looking at it. So that's where I come in to kind of help explain the things and dive deeper into the meanings behind it all and how you can use it, like how to turn it into your strategy or how to turn that into your power moving forward with it. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm just Brittia K. It's Brittia, just like it sounds. Brittia K on Instagram or Facebook. And then website is coming soon. It should be brittiak.com. Depending on when this launches, airs, that it might be up for you. But lots of resources. I'll be going live or more stories on Instagram to kind of help you dive into that. But I'm also available for readings, mappings, all of those things. So just reach out to me.
Yeah, and you definitely want to reach out to Pratia, because we were talking about human design, and I think I was confused on something, and she did a reading for me, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's one of those moments where you listen to something, you hear something, and you get goosebumps, and you know that
Yeah.
it's speaking to you. I had that moment. She Voxered me and told me all these things, and I thought, oh my gosh. And the funny thing is,
Yeah.
when you did my reading, Pratia, the idea of dance and movement and music came up so frequently, because that's what I did in my
Hmm.
former life, right? I was a professional dancer, then I ran a performing arts school. So even to this day, though, this idea of movement and music is still so important. And I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out now how to bring that back into my business at this level, because I feel like I need to share that again. I put that into dormancy for a while, but it's really time to share that part of myself with everyone who I want to connect with. And I know that
Yeah.
you just created this brand new Instagram page, and
Yeah.
it's such a resource for people to talk about human design and really to show up in a space for them where they literally are given permission. And I know permission has a weird connotation in our culture, right? We're
Yeah.
not asking for permission, but all of a sudden when you read something about yourself and you have this deeper understanding, and there's an aha moment, it's like, oh, I can really be free to be me. I can show up in the way that makes sense for me. I can tap into my energy the way that I'm meant to. I can show up and do the things I'm meant to. And it's been such a fascinating journey with me I pulled all the charts, of course, on my husband and my girls, and
Hmm.
just to see it unfold now that I have a better
Right.
understanding. And I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just curious about this, because it has
Yeah.
been such an eye-opening experience to learn this. So now that you know this, Pratia, and you are raising these beautiful kids and your hubby, how has knowing your human design and theirs changed the way that you relate to each other?
Yeah, I want to touch on one thing first. And instead of permission, I actually wrote a post the other day and it was confirmation. The word
Yes.
confirmation came up.
Yes.
And that's really what it is, more than asking for permission or getting permission to do things. We're all grown adults here, right? Like we can make our own decisions and we make our own choices, and we know most of the time what's good for us and what's not. But it's confirmation. It's saying
Yes.
like me and you both said, it was like we know ourselves, but it was that confirmation of like seeing it in writing or like hearing it from somebody else that's like, oh, thank you. You're like, yes, that is me. And then you get to grab a hold of it, and then you get to own that power, and then you get to move with it. So it's more of confirmation, I would say, than permission. But, and you brought it into it, you led into it. But I was going to say too, it's more than just about business, and it's more than just about like you owning your power and having that kind of confidence. But it rolls over into relationships, into motherhood, or, your family. My husband is very non-woo. Okay. He is a Texas man, true Southern man, does not buy into any of the woo-woo mystical stuff. And I actually had a conversation with him about human design the other day. And was he was kind of like still a little iffy, and I got to explaining a little more about we could talk more about centers and stuff, but he has a defined throat, and this man could talk to a rock. I mean, he can talk to anybody for any amount of time. And I am not a talker unless I get around somebody with that defined throat. I'm usually very quiet, very closed off. I think more than I speak. And so I was explaining to him just that little bit. And he was like, oh, okay, but what about this? And what about this? And I was able to kind of explain about the conditioning, and imagine if you were told all your life that you need to speak more, or maybe you don't need to speak as much, but that's how you were designed. That's who you are, and it lets you kind of lean into that more. So getting him a little more on board, I'm just kind of dropping little things here and there about this is why, because you're a manifester and you need to rest and recharge. But for my kids as well, like it's really given me so much more understanding of them. My son is the emotional Manny Gen. And from day one, we have said, oh my gosh, he is so emotional. He is so emotional. And this is why. I mean, he is an emotional being. It's in his design. He's emotionally led, emotionally charged. And so instead of telling him like, don't cry, like tough up, be a man, blah, blah, blah. Like instead of doing that, we can now embrace that in him and let him know that these emotional waves are going to happen for the rest of your life. And that gives him the power to move with it. Instead of saying like, this isn't how don't act like that. You're not supposed to cry. You're supposed to be tough, blah, blah, blah. That gives him the power to say, now I can learn more about myself. He's 5, by the way. So we have a long way to go with this, but really giving him that power and embracing him for who he is and how he was made. And my daughter, she's a generator, bless her heart. She just constantly on the go. And my projectorness is like, blah. But she just cannot sit still for the life of her. And that's it. She does things that she likes doing, and it gives her more energy, and she just keeps revving up and charging more. But I understand that. I understand why she is the way she is, because I can see it all in her chart.
Well, I think it's really fascinating too to talk about this energy, because my husband is a generator, so I get it. Like he never stops. When we go on vacation, he just wants to go do more things. And, I'm like, I really just need to like hang out at the beach or at the hotel. I just need to read. I need to take a nap. And he's like, I just think it's so weird people want to go on vacation and take a nap. It's like, well, I would really love to do that. I'm pretty accommodating and will kind of go as long as I can. But at some point, I need to step back and say, okay, I got to stop. But when we think about this energy and this behavior, and we think about school systems, though, here's the big disconnect, right? Because I think I can definitely get on my soapbox here on this one as far as kids getting labeled with ADD and ADHD. And I am not saying that that's not, a diagnosis for some people. For some people, absolutely. But I think a lot of times this energy gets mislabeled, misdiagnosed because it's easier rather than understanding what's behind it, rather than looking at human design. And human design, I feel like, I'm immersed in this world, so I see a lot of things about it. But for most people, they've never heard of this, right?
Right.
I didn't even learn about it until February, so that's really just a very short time.
Yeah.
But to really dive into this when our kids are having issues in school, knowing human design in your kids, and then being able to speak up and advocate for them in school and say, you know what, my kid is a generator. In order for them to do these things, here's what I know. And when I wrote
Yeah.
my first book all about Howard Gardner theory of multiple intelligences, it goes in line with this so much because schools are not designed for every kid,
Yeah.
which I know some people listening are going to say, but that's not true. It is my belief that schools are only designed for certain kids because the
Yeah.
way that their brains are wired, the way that their human design is, some kids, less than 20% of kids who are in school are going to excel because
Hmm.
schools are designed specifically for kids who are really good in math and who are really good in English. And if you fall outside those things, you get labeled quickly. And we're made to feel badly about not excelling in that situation, which I think is such
Right.
a travesty for kids because
Hmm.
they don't know. I mean, they're just being who they're meant to be. And
Yeah.
unless we are better as parents and understand these things, the more we can understand about our kids and advocate and say, look, here's the situation. Here's how we
Yeah.
need to address this. Can I help you understand this better? And so I think, as parents, when we know our human design and we know that of our kids, that can only serve to benefit them, to help them grow into the people we know that they can be.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with you. Just that idea alone of like kids don't learn the same way. And teachers, I mean, our kids are spending more time with their teachers than they spend with us most of the time, unless you're a homeschooling parent. If you have that luxury, that's amazing. But my son is with the teacher more than he's with me. And they have such a big impact,
Mhm.
on their, as I mentioned earlier, that conditioning influence of like, this is who you're supposed to be. This is how we're supposed to learn, you know. And unless we are at home doing that deep work with our children of like, this is really who you are.
Mhm.
This is what you can own, and this is what you can walk in your truth knowing. We have to give them that because the teachers have 15 of them in front of
Yeah.
them, 20 of them, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's not the teacher's responsibility. It's our responsibility to know our children and to nurture them in a way that fits who they are, and allows them to discover that on their own, and really own that part of them.
Yeah, and I think that's really the gift of human design. And I have to apologize about my phone because, of
That's
course, I put it on Do Not Disturb and the phone rings, of course, as I kind of figured it would, right? So that was my husband. I will call him back, so don't worry about that. But normally that won't happen. But yeah, I agree that it's the more we know as parents, the more informed we are, and
Mhm,
especially through this lens of human design about understanding the potential. Because I think that human
mhm.
design really taps into what is the potential of every single human on the planet, and
Yeah,
understanding more about ourselves and knowing more about ourselves and knowing, just understanding, and then having the ability to see other people through that lens of
yes.
knowing. I think if more people in the world would know these things, or be willing to learn about them,
Mhm.
there could be a whole lot less animosity in this world, which I
Yeah.
could definitely go for.
Yeah. So so two more things that I was thinking about when you're talking. One is that I've had a client that I read her daughters for her as well. And she said it actually changed the relationship with her youngest daughter. Like she just felt a deeper connection with her after knowing her chart because
Mhm.
she's an emotional generator, and once you know and understand, your life lesson becomes knowing how you affect other people. My husband and my son are both emotional. I have an open solar plexus or emotional center. So I have told him even before I knew human design, I feel your energy. When you come home in a bad mood, I'm in a bad mood. Like I take on so much energy as a projector. I'm very open, um, and a projector. So I take on so much energy. And and that goes on to the person with that defined energy center, because it's up to you to balance and to know how you're affecting the people around you. So her knowing that she had this power, if you will, that she was affecting literally the energy of her children, and how she can kind of monitor that now, or how she can lean in with them and teach them lessons of it, of this is what I'm going through and this is how I'm handling it, and it teaches them to do the same thing. So that was one point. And the second point, about just the world being a better place, is that all of us, we could go into all this woo stuff now, but the world is all made up of energy, tiny particles all around you. This is the quantum physics thing, right? Energy is all around us. We connect to the people who fill us up in some way. They always say, like, people come and go into your life and out of your life for a reason, a season, or something else. I don't know. But that's what it is. It's our energy connecting with other people, and somebody else is going to come into your life and fill up a spot that you needed, just like you're going to be in somebody else's life filling up a spot that they needed. And if we could all just see that we're all here to work together and to fill each other up instead of take something away, that's not how it works. We're here to fill each other up. And if you could understand a little bit more of your design, you might see how you're affecting somebody else's design. It gives you so much to work with, of like, you may have a closed, defined throat, and I'm able to speak through you. I'm literally able to speak through you now, or speak to you more easily because it flows out of me into you. It's just that attraction. And a lot of that manifestation stuff just comes with that attracting quality. Like, your vibe attracts your tribe. Well, they're really attracted to your energy. It's what's around you. It's what's within you.
Yeah, this idea of energy is so fascinating, and it does definitely goes on the side of woo, but there's definitely that scientific part of
Yeah,
it that we can grab onto. So again, wherever you are on the side of woo or science, I mean,
yeah,
human design can really fill you up on either side or somewhere. Because I probably am
yeah.
in between. I have 2 science degrees, so I mean, I definitely have that brain for wanting to know and be curious and want to dig in and figure out why things work. And this idea of energy is so funny because it reminds me of a story which is totally unrelated, but I think it'll illustrate the point. So back in college, as an undergraduate, I took organic chemistry, right? It was one of the hardest classes I've ever taken, but literally we had these little kits where you could build these atoms, and you could actually go in there. Okay, if these two things, if these elements bond together, what is it going to look like, right? So
Yeah,
it's sort of
we had those too.
the same thing, right? I loved that class so much, and I saw something online. I'm not sure who did it, but it reminds me of this, where it was an illustration of if everyone lived together in a town, what would each of those 5 people, what would their jobs be? Because everything is equally important. Without one
Right.
kind of person, this other work can't get done. So we really do need to rely on each other, just like in organic chemistry, to create bonds with different chemicals. Everything is important. Every part of
Yeah.
that chemical reaction is important. And in human
Yeah.
design, every person, no matter what your design is, we're all meant to do certain kinds of work. But again,
Yeah.
having the energy of other people in different aspects and areas of our lives is huge. I know for me personally, when I learned that networking and talking to people, I used to hate the word networking. Like, I don't want to go to a networking event. I mean, that sounds terrifying to me. I don't want to go do that as an introvert. Like, that was my worst nightmare. But now the ability to understand that that's how people get to know me, and that's how people come into my world, that's how people come to do work with me, is through that relationship and that connecting. And so the weeks when I don't get to connect with people, I feel really energetically low. And now that I understand that, I can fill my week with things that fill me up, because I need that energy, because
Yeah.
again, as projectors, we don't have a ton of it. So being able to find people who can fill in those
Yes.
gaps is really important. Just like you said, you have an undefined throat. I have a defined throat. So I think part of the reason we communicate so well is because of that, right? We're filling in the energetic gaps for each other and being able
Yep.
to give to each other and complete the circuit. I guess maybe I can use
Right.
that analogy.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. And that's what it is too. Being able to kind of draw off Manny gens and generators that we hang around. like we can draw off their energy because we feel their energy, and we can take a little bit of it that we need, but then we might have to back off and be like, okay, now I'm going to hide in my hole, kind of
Yes.
calm down a little bit, and they might still be Manny Jenning over here, and that's totally okay. Like that's what it is. It's just that completion of the circuit, and I too have a bachelor's degree in science of health science. So I mean, I totally dig into all of this, and you can go as far as to seeing which centers connect to which body organs. And as a sonographer, I literally look at people's insides with sound, with energy, and just knowing the difference that things bounce off, different organs differently, and they come back to you. And that's what it is. It's the energy that you're putting off is going to bounce off somebody, and it's going to come back to you in whatever you're able to receive it. But knowing, what center connects to which body organ. And I'm like, well, that's why so many people, have gallbladder disease. Or that's why, like, I should start asking them, like, is your, heart center defined? They'll think I'm crazy, but, it really is all connected. And it's so fascinating to me. I could talk about it all day.
Oh my gosh, that is fascinating now that you're saying this about different organs and you can see it through the work that you do. I think I would be totally, I would want to work all the time just to find all the connections and talk to people. And that sounds amazing to me. And I know you're fortunate to get to do that. And I know you're leaning more into this human design world, which I think is awesome because we get to go on this journey together. And for all of your clients, including myself, who've gotten readings from you, I mean, again, knowing more about yourself is having the power to go out there and showing up and having that confirmation, like you said, not the permission, right? Because we're taught from kids to ask for permission. So I think in my head, that word was like, okay, permission, but confirmation, like you said, knowing your human design, understanding how it all relates, understanding that this exchange of energy in our bodies and with other people, these are all the things that make this idea of human design so fascinating. And there's so many facets, so many layers. There's some stuff that it is so esoterical in my head. I mean, I'm not there yet to where I can understand because I've read some things thinking, I don't even think that I understand that. However, I'm curious. And I think in this lifetime, the more curious we can be about the people in our families, the people that we serve in our businesses, I think that's what really drives us forward, is having that curiosity and wanting to do these experiments and find out more about ourselves in the process.
Yeah, it's all about connection. We're human, we're mammals. We need and we crave and we desire that connection with other humans, and I think this human design is just a way to like see into other people and projectors as a whole. We're meant to be that guide, and we're meant to kind of lead people on their journeys. That's just who we are meant to be. And everything in my design and profile is says that this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to lead people on their journey, and I'm the one that's walking up that mountain, so I can turn around and help you up it as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your vast amount of knowledge. I know you've inspired many more future conversations and hopefully here on the podcast with you. But this idea of human design and understanding and knowing ourselves, and then using that information, applying it, having the power to go do these things, having confirmation that it's okay to show up in all of our craziness and our weirdness and our quirks. Those things are things we need to embrace because they help us to differentiate ourselves between other people who may do the same things. And that is okay. But everybody, all of you listening right now, we're all placed on this earth to do really important work. We were not placed here just to, be okay in life. We're here to really just excel. And human design is one of the most fascinating tools to help us to understand ourselves. So Pratia, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming to be here and sharing your wealth of knowledge in this amazing arena.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to share. Like I said, it just lights me up to talk about it. And I hope you guys all discover your designs and tag us in when you take your body graph. Tell us what type you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And when this podcast publishes, you can come over to the website too and share with us there. And I'll tag Britia. I'll make sure all of her links are directly on that webpage. So you can go see what she's up to, see how she's exploring human design, see how she is helping people, because just knowing this information about yourself can literally change the way you're showing up, the way you feel about yourself, the way you relate to others, and most importantly, how you connect with others, because that is what the world is about connection. So thank you for connecting with me, Pratia. Until next time. So what did you think? Are you as excited about human design as I am? I know our conversation today with Pratia really inspired me to think about a lot more conversations that I want to have with her and future guests as well about this idea of showing up as our real, true, authentic selves. And of course, amplifying our awesome. Before you go, come on over to today's show notes at yongpratt.com/316 and share your biggest takeaways or ahas from this episode with Pratia. And if you know someone that would appreciate this episode, please feel free to share it with them. Next week, you'll meet our final human design expert, Uma Girish, and the serendipitous events that led to our meeting. Catch you then. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in to the Amplify Your Awesome podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any tips, tricks, or secrets on building a business based around your awesome. Hey, and while you're there, leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you think of the show. And until next time, my friends, go out there today and amplify your awesome.